To all my high school graduates, to all my matriculants, secondary schoolers and teens, to all my youth coming out of high school with life and potential, it's your boy Saint Noble, and in this video I want to do for you what schools do not care to do, things I genuinely wish my teachers had told me. Now, it has come to my attention that many of you by now have received your final exam results. Some of y'all have excelled to the heights as you should, others survived, some of y'all did not make the cut, and the rest of y'all, like Arsenal, dropped out and didn't even make the competition. Nonetheless, wherever you land on the spectrum, whether you've excelled or done poorly outside of school, it really doesn't matter. Why? Because our education system has done you no real justice. And if I knew in high school what I'm about to share with you right now, it would have changed how I saw my schoolwork, my exams, my peers, and my future as a whole. So bruh, pay attention. Number one, the one thing your teachers probably haven't told y'all is that schools care more about preparing you for exams than they do about preparing you for real life. One thing I remember about my high school principal, Mr. Dayanan, as I call him out, is that he cared very little about our lives after high school. I realized this because the one thing he would continuously and persistently drill into our heads is to prepare for our final exams. Now, nothing wrong with being prepared for your exams and doing well, but trust me folks, it is for your school's best interest that you do well, more than it is for your own. Mr. Dayanan, like many teachers, only cared about us doing well because it would look good on him, the school, its reputation, and it would mean more money. It's sad to admit, but the truth is that many teachers simply don't care. They're just trying to get the bag. Number two, another thing that schools probably haven't told y'all is that student debt is real. Now, for those of you like me whose parents or guardians don't have varsity or college money, I suggest you think twice about taking on a student loan. Why? Because student loan debt is the worst debt. You can never escape. There is no filing for bankruptcy when it comes to student debt. Oh yeah, I mean they'll pardon corrupt officials, politicians and leaders who literally steal from us, but an innocent youth who didn't know better, bruh, you better pay that shit. I mean, teachers won't even allow kids to go and take a dump without permission, and yet somehow kids are smart enough to know what they want to do with the 100K.
How, Sway? You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Thirdly, you know how parents are always preaching to you about the importance of getting a degree? Well, believe it or not, folks, degrees have lost their power. They are no longer as valuable. The biggest companies in the world today have stopped requiring college degrees. You know what they value more than ever now? Experience. Which leads me to my final point, and this is probably the saddest. Our education system is intricately designed to make you a worker. The school system as we know it today, created about 120 years ago and heavily influenced by the Rockefeller brothers, was designed to develop employees.
That's just deep, bro. That's deep.
So, for those of you who did really well, what do you think that says about you? I'm just kidding. Now look, I have nothing against excelling in your academics. I mean, I myself was quite the excellent student. But all I'm saying is that bruh, you have to learn to look past the education system, because the education system has looked past you. But fear not, little children, because I, like a knight in shining armor, am here to save thee. I want to help and encourage you by giving you this great piece of advice. You need to educate yourself. The wisest man in history, King Solomon, writes this: a man skilled in his work will serve before kings. He will not serve before officials of low rank. If you want to become more profitable and valuable in the marketplace, then you need to learn valuable, practical, useful, and profitable skills. And this is where the internet becomes your best friend. Whether it's coding, web design, video, photography, animation, sound design, music, beauty, cosmetics, cooking, baking, marketing, finance, business, fitness, whatever it is, turn to the internet. It will change your outcome. Check out Udemy, Skillshare, Domestika, some of the ones I've used, and especially enroll at the University of YouTube, where I've recently just completed my degree in digital art. Please excuse me while I flex. So instead of wasting your time watching unhelpful videos on YouTube, you owe it to yourself to develop good and useful skills. Listen, you have to upskill yourself. There are tons and tons of tutorials, short courses, and master classes that you can turn to learn something new. The world as your parents knew it has changed, folks. If you want to make good money and make good money doing what you love, it is possible. Why? Because the internet has made it possible. So do the right thing and get your education.
I don't necessarily ascribe to believe that good education means you're going to become wealthy, because there are a lot of educated poor people. There are a lot of people educated with useless degrees. That is just a fact. And I'm saying this, listen, we're all walking around with a plethora of information. Is it useful to memorize random facts about random things that have little impact, little actual impact to do with you? Instead, should we be teaching these kids how to do a budget, how interest works, how debt works, how leverage works, how marketing works? If we're talking about upward mobility, I don't think kids taking more civics classes and taking more sociology classes and taking more history classes is actually what's going to move the needle. Because guess what? I took all those classes. And you know where I learned the majority of my financial literacy from? My local church, discovering guys like Dave Ramsey, right? You know where I started learning more of it from? Investing. You know where I learned investing from? YouTube University. You know where I learned everything about video, the new stuff I'm learning about video, shooting, editing video? YouTube. Self-taught, watching other people do it. So this notion that, well, if we just educate people more, sure, educated people, good. But it's not the 80s or the 90s. We're not in the same climate. That if you want to make more money, you have to develop more scarce skills. You have to develop the skill to build something and create something, an app, a song, a YouTube channel, a course, a piece of merchandise. You have to create something, and you have to understand how to sell and market something. Those are the two most important skills any of us can have. If you can learn to create something, and that's why I think the arts are so important.